Jnanam Satyam Jnanam Jyotir Aravinda Satyam Jnanam Satyam Jnanam Jyotir Aravinda Satyam Jnanam Satyam Jnanam Jyotir Aravinda Jyotir Aravinda. So, we all know Sri Aurobindo's differentiation of parts of our being, the mental, vital, physical, psychic. We are all conversant with that. So very briefly he says we are not one monolithic being, but we have many beings simultaneously living within us. It's like our mental being has its own life, our emotional or vital being has its own life, our physical consciousness has its own life, and our psychic has its own life. Now, most of us as human beings, where do you think we live the most, by and large? Not just for yourself. In general, where would you say most human beings live? In which of these planes? Largely vital. Mental, very few. I mean, of course, all are, but the dominant one is vital. We are largely governed by our emotions, isn't it? More than anything else. So, Mother gives a lot of importance to the purification and transformation of the vital, because unlike other yoga, she does, in this yoga, we don't kill the vital, because the vital and the desire are the life springs. They are really our life springs. If we kill that, we chop off a very vital part of us which is pivotal for our transformation. So Mother tells us to work with emotions rather than just close our doors on emotions. There was that beautiful passage I'd put up on the Savitri group, I think Purvi sent it to me, that some human beings, if they block off their capacity to love other human beings, they lose their capacity to love altogether. When we come to the path of yoga, sometimes we fall into this asceticism where we feel that no human beings, only God. But of course, Sri Aurobindo has said, they say they love God and don't love human beings, then whom do they love? And Mother has also said that if we give away that capacity to love human beings, we throw away the baby with the bath water. We lose our capacity to love altogether. Of course, that capacity to love human beings comes with a package deal of neediness and expectations and disappointments and all that. But that's what needs to be purified, and that's what we'll be working on today, what we've been working on in all our yoga classes through the week. But today we'll go into it with the words of the masters. So, what would you say is a negative emotional state for you? Can we have some examples of negative emotional states which arise in your consciousness very, very often? Blaming others. So when things go wrong, we blame others. That's one thing. So, and we feel resentful. What else? Anger, resentful because you're blaming others. So blame others when things go wrong or not your way. What else?
Guilt.
Guilt that I'm not doing enough, I'm not whatever. What else? Anything else?
Fear.
Fear about the future.
Or all kinds of
Fear about outcomes. Yeah, okay. What else? Come on, I'm sure you all have negative emotional states unless you all are enlightened.
Keeping grudge for the one who has hurt.
Blaming somebody, holding a grudge against them, guilt, fear, anger. What else? Selfishness. So why? Give me an example, Trupti.
We always put maybe sometimes ourselves first and may not.
So I'm saying a negative emotional state is not what you would judge as bad. A negative is an unhappy emotional. We are looking at that. Selfishness, you may not feel unhappy. You may, but you may not. So something that's unhappy for you. What would it be? Yeah? Nothing?
Nothing like
Okay. Huh? Not feeling enough, not feeling accepted. So our negative emotional states could be feeling incapable, feeling angry, feeling fearful, feeling guilty, feeling anxious, insecure. Now, for each of us, there'll be one or two of these that we return to again and again and again. Can you identify them? You don't have to tell me if it makes you feel vulnerable, but can you identify it for yourself? That these one or two negative emotional states I return to again and again and again. Can all of us? Yeah? Now, there's a book, Life Force, by Tony Robbins, where he's called these are emotional homes. And I was at a yoga retreat with my yoga teacher where we explored this chapter on emotional homes. Emotional homes are homes that we come back to again and again and again. A home by definition is something that you return to, right? You go to work, but you'll come back to that home. Now, the home may be a happy home or an unhappy home. Home is not just a place of comfort. Sometimes the home is not comfortable, but it's something you return to again and again and again. So, Tony Robbins calls this our emotional homes. All of us have typical emotional homes to which we return as a mind state. So, it's important to identify what those emotional homes are and then to transform them to positive emotional homes. Of course, transformation of the vital has a whole lot more to it, but we are touching upon it. Working with our emotional homes is really transforming the vital in whatever capacity we can. And that's something very important, because we may have a very developed mind, an open psychic, but if we have an unruly vital, it quickly undoes everything very quickly. So it's very important to transform the vital and bring the light into the vital. So negative emotional homes are unhappy emotional states that we fall into again and again. And positive emotional homes are positive states which can become a home state with a little practice. Right now, for many of us, a negative state may be our home more often than a positive home. But today our talk is about somehow being able to shift that to make positive states our positive home. Yeah. So now we look at our PDF. So the first positive emotional home, which works very well for everyone, is metta. Anyone knows what metta? Anyone here who doesn't know what metta is? You don't know? You know what metta is. So it's a practice that the Buddha used to teach. You all know the story behind its origin. This is a true story. Once there were a group of monks who the Buddha sent into the forest to meditate, and the story goes that that forest was infested with tree spirits who used to scream and shout and make their lives miserable. So they went back to the Buddha and said, send us anywhere, but we don't want to go back to that forest. So the Buddha said, if I teach you a tool which will be your armor in the forest, will you go back? So they said yes. And that's when he taught them metta, and they started practicing metta towards the tree spirits. What is metta? You just direct these 4 sentences: may you be well, may you be happy, may you be peaceful, may you be free, towards whatever is causing you pain. Sometimes I cause myself pain, then I can send metta to myself. May I be well, may I be happy, may I be peaceful, may I be free, or towards whatever is causing me pain. So they started practicing it towards the tree spirits, and the tree spirits were so transformed that they started protecting the monks. Now, obviously the tree spirits are all the difficulties in our life, but we can transform them with the power of metta. So metta is really a blessing, no, which we are giving out to somebody, and it's never very wise to think, who am I to bless, because all of us are Atma, right? We all have the power to bless, and whenever we bless, we come closer to the source of the blessing. It fills us up. So Shakespeare said this, no, in his famous words: the quality of mercy is not strained, it droppeth as gentle rain from heaven upon the place beneath. It is twice blessed, it blesseth him that gives and him that takes. The quality of mercy is twice blessed, it blesseth him that gives and him that takes. So you cannot really send genuine metta without healing yourself. It's like when you open a tap, water will flow into the basin and clean the basin, but as it flows through the tap, it will first clean the tap, right? So you cannot really send metta without it first blessing you. So whenever you are in a state of blessing, the biggest blessing is yours, because you just feel so full and good when you bless. And then there's this poem, The Bud, by Galway Kinnell. The Bud is the title, but there should be a line, the bud again. The bud stands for all things, even for those that don't flower. So I may feel I'm not flowering, but you have the potential, the bud of the Buddha nature inside you, the bud of Mother inside you, God consciousness inside you. The bud stands for all things, even for those that don't flower. For everything flowers from within of self-blessing, though sometimes it is necessary to reteach a thing its loveliness. Sometimes we need to reteach ourselves our own loveliness, isn't it? We've forgotten it. We live with so much criticism. We do a little something which is amiss, and something as simple as watching a TV serial, which is quite innocuous. But there are so many people who beat themselves up so endlessly for a simple, harmless thing like watching a TV serial. So in my mind, they are harming themselves more by that self-flagellation than just going ahead and enjoying the serial. Because we've gotten into this habit of criticizing ourselves for every little thing we do. I eat a little extra, I watch a little extra TV. It's not the end of the world, but in my mind, I'm the worst person on earth because I do a simple, innocuous, harmless thing like that. That's how unkind I am with myself. If my child did it, okay, I'd correct, but I wouldn't think he's the worst person on earth for doing it. But when I do it, sometimes I'm so harsh and critical with myself. So that's what this poem is all about. To reteach a thing its loveliness, to put a hand on its brow, on the brow of the flower, and retell it in words and touch, it is lovely, until it flowers again from within of self-blessing. So the bud stands for all things, even for those that never blossom. Though everything blossoms from within of self-blessing, if I can just be kind to myself, love myself, I'll be more likely to get over those addictions I hate than if I keep hating myself for it. I can't flower with hatred, but I can flower into beauty with love. So the bud stands for all things, even for those that never blossom. Though everything blossoms from within of self-blessing, though sometimes it is necessary to touch a flower gently on its head and tell it in words and touch that it is beautiful, until it blossoms again from within of self-blessing. So let's actually do that right now. First, let's give ourselves that self-blessing. So whenever I go into the negative emotional home of guilt, blame, inadequacy, let me come home to the positive emotional home of metta or self-blessing. So let me bring an image of myself, an image I like to see, maybe a childhood picture, an image I can feel soft and tender towards. And let me start sending myself metta. May I be well. May I be happy. May I be peaceful. May I be free. These 4 sentences ending in well, happy, peaceful and free. Just blessing yourself with these 4 sentences. Everything blossoms from within of self-blessing. Just a minute, I'll be quiet. Keep sending yourself these phrases of metta or loving kindness. If you want a backrest, you can come here. If you want a backrest, you can come here. Okay, so that was our first positive emotional home, metta. We sent it to ourselves, but you can send it to anyone, any difficult person. Also, you can send. So, those of you who've just come in, I'll quickly recap. We were exploring one method of vital transformation because most of us live in the vital, so we need to transform it. So we identified negative emotional homes, negative emotional states that we return to again and again, and all of us have them typically, of anger, guilt, blame, holding a grudge. So we began by identifying a negative emotional home that I come home to again and again, and then we were looking at positive emotional homes we could transit to, and metta was the first one. Okay, now we come to the second one, which is surrender and offering. This is a passage taken from Janina Stroka's book, Captive of Her Love. Read it? It's a beautiful book, you should pick it up. Janina was somebody who came from Europe to the mother when the mother was in her body, and she wrote an exceptionally beautiful book called Captive of Her Love. It's available here, and she actually describes her interactions with the mother, and in one of the interactions she says that here in Pondicherry we are all captives of her love, because that's how it is.
I think we are captives of her love here also.
Yeah, anywhere, wherever we find her. Yes, 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 this is a very special place, I agree. So Janina says, what I'm sure of is that what I'm experiencing is possible when the self-giving is very strong. These are from her letters to her friend. Okay, so she writes in her letter to her friend, what I'm very sure of is that what I'm experiencing is possible when the self-giving is very strong. When the life becomes so intensive that nothing matters but she is the mother, but she is in everything. During the synthesis class, I give my mind to her and I feel the power at work. I try very hard never to approach her or to be in her nearness without intense concentration and meditation, which for me also means self-giving. All this shouting and noise and agitated people and the divine in the middle. So was the Christmas ceremony after the organized part, and so are often the children in the playground. But I'm in this respect a fanatic, and when I have once in my hunting for my God got a glimpse of him, I shall not allow anything to deprive me of this. Such a beautiful aspiration. She says, I'm a fanatic. When once in my hunting for my God, I've got a glimpse of him. When she saw the mother, I've got a glimpse of him. I shall not allow anything to deprive me of this. This can be really a mantra for all of us. We are all lucky we've had a glimpse of her, and just the determination that I shall not allow anything to deprive me of this. During darshan this morning, she showed me what is a kind of knack in the process of surrender. I have nothing to give ever, but every time my act of self-giving is sufficiently strong, she gives and acts in me and through me. It's like a rhythm, a movement in me to her, a movement of her in me, a movement in me to her, a movement of her in me. So she's saying, I have nothing to give her. Actually, when we say self-giving, what can we give her? Everything already belongs to her. But we can give away the illusion that it belongs to me. That's all we can give away. Everything I call mine anyway belongs to her. My intelligence, my body, my everything belongs to her. But I self-claim it. So self-giving is really unlearning that, to recognize that it's yours. It's not mine, I'm giving it to you. And she says, the more I give myself to her, the more she gives herself to me. And it's like a movement of me in her and her in me. And the moment I think of giving or want to give, the contact is lost. It is a real school exercise. So when I do it with a lot of effort, I lose the contact. When I do it mentally, I lose the contact. But when it's a spontaneous, wow, mother, this that you've gifted me for this moment, this gift of intelligence, whatever, it's really yours, to recognize that. It is a real school exercise, a school of divine living. It is here. I feel it so. Here, my child. Now this has to be learned. go on and report tomorrow. I am practicing it now too, giving myself as completely as I can to her, and I feel her love flowing through me to you. She's telling her friend who she's writing to, I feel her love flowing through me to you. She also told me this morning that the way is just to go on and on with more and more self-giving, nothing else, just more and more. Oh, there is such a great gratitude in me. How can I express it? So that is surrender and offering. So let's experiment with this. Let's sit tall and just think of whatever is bothering you, whatever is your negative emotional home, the narrative, the story. Just feel Mother's presence overhead or in your heart or in any way you can. And just surrender. What does surrender mean? Giving away this negativity to her. But then you'll say, how do I give it away? It's stuck to me. Just by doing so, just by recognizing that Mother is anyway carrying me and my burdens. Why am I carrying the burdens on my shoulders and aching? Let me drop them into her lap, even as an experiment. This that's bothering me, making me anxious, irritated, Mother, I give it away to you. And then I'm not going to think about it. It's your baby. You'll handle it. When I need to do something about it, you'll give me the thought too. But right now, when I'm sitting in this beautiful environment, and the thought of it is making me unhappy, that's completely uncalled for. So I give it away to you. Actually exhale it out of your system and see it dropping into her lap or at her feet. Just a minute or two on your own. As if your heart has hands, and with those hands from the heart, you're dropping the issue at her feet or at her lap. And then slowly open your eyes. We go to the third positive emotional home, seeing all as God. Again, Janina's words. Next time I shall write about my work with the departments. Now there is no more room. I just discovered that when a low wave of emotion wants to drag me down, I inwardly dash to Mother immediately. Even if you have already done something wrong, hiding for a long time, without being ashamed, and I bury myself in her outstretched loving arms. This brings a solution to so many previous problems. The new worker and those doing the whitewashing are very slow, but it is she who is working through them also, and I try to realize it as much as possible in my heart mostly. The workers who are working with her, they are not very cooperative, but Janina says she tries to remember that Mother is working through them also. And I try to realize it as much as possible in my heart mostly. These are just grades of deeper and deeper realization of the same things that first in thought started years ago in my consciousness. And this realization now seems to be so simple when one comes nearer and nearer. Now the workers have left half an hour before their time. So of course the servants want to go earlier too. And I'm going in half an hour to the synthesis class and later to March Pass. The evening meditation is about 8:15 or later when many visitors are there. But I do not go home in the meantime. I read in the class or walk on the shore. I went twice only to the tennis court. She told me that is not the way. I have to turn to people, see her directly in them, and give myself continuously to each one. So for a while, Janina wanted to just gather whatever she was feeling of the mother, and she tried to keep away. But mother from inside her told her, she told me that is not the way. I have to turn to people, see her directly in them, and give myself continuously to each one. So to see God in all. And this is also a super positive emotional home. But when will it not work? What are the two conditions under which this will not work?
When there is fear,
Yeah, okay, but more? Doubt about what?
All is God.
No, you mentally know it. And by now all of us sitting here, we've heard it enough to know it. So you don't doubt it at a mental level. But
You can't see it.
you can't see it. And what will stop you from seeing it?
Ego.
Intense dislike for a person. If you intensely dislike a person, you find it difficult to see God in that. Because somewhere there's a conditioning in us that God is good, God is beautiful. How can this horrible person be God? Second case, when will you not be able to use this as a home?
Also, if the person is like you find a person a little uncouth or not so nice.
That's what I'm saying, you dislike the person. So when else will you not be able to use this?
When a situation is not the way you want it.
Right, you dislike the situation or the person, that's one. When else? Why would it help you to see everything as God?
When you are at peace.
Why?
Oh, when you can love divine.
Exactly. If you don't only love the divine, it's pointless for you, a person who doesn't have a great feeling for God. If I tell that person's horrible to you, see God in that person, you will say, okay, big deal, it doesn't help me. Right? So you have to be able to, and Mother says that to love God is also a gift from God. So the question is, can I love God more in that moment than hating the person? That's the big one. If my hatred for the person is more, then this is pointless, it doesn't help me. So if I can, and for it to really work, I have to be in a state of God love. If I'm not in that state of God love and I mentally just say it's God, it's not going to help me. Right? So let's try this. Come.
I have a question.
Yeah.
How does seeing someone who is doing something horrible to you as a God help you in dealing with the situation? Because it literally is like, okay, this person is being horrible to me.
Yeah.
And then I can see, I mean, if I want to exercise it, okay, this person is still God or whatever.
Yeah.
How would that change my way of dealing with that? Because I still need to stop that horrible thing from happening to me.
Yeah. So one thing is, you've done the physics experiment of tuning forks. One tuning fork is vibrating at one frequency. If I bring another tuning fork near it, it will start vibrating at the same frequency. And when both vibrate at the same frequency, there's an increase in amplitude. Okay, if you don't understand the physics, simply put, if this negative person is vibrating with anger, and I catch that vibration of anger and I start vibrating with that anger, there's a spike in negativity, the amplitude increases. But if this tuning fork is vibrating at one frequency and I'm a tuning fork who holds my own, I don't start vibrating with it, then after a while even this will stop vibrating because it's not being fanned by my vibration. So first, to understand the cliche, but a true cliche, an eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. By reacting to the negativity of the person, I'm never helping a situation.
I mean, I do need to respond. I understand not to react with hatred itself.
Yeah, you can respond, but you don't have to react with negativity. Are we on the same page about that? It's difficult but not impossible.
Okay.
Yeah, it's difficult but not impossible. So my goal is not to react with negativity as much as possible to the negativity of the person. It's difficult, I grant that, but that's my goal. I may not have achieved it, I may have achieved it 10%, 20%, whatever, but that's my inner goal. So if I'm clear about that and I use this positive emotional home of seeing everything as God, then what Sri Aurobindo says in his aphorism, God struck me with a human hand. Shall I have the insolence to say, I forgive? Shall I have the audacity to say, I forgive thee thy insolence, O God? You don't understand. God struck me with a human hand. And Sri Aurobindo says this beautifully in Synthesis of Yoga, that any emotion you ever feel towards anyone, you're feeling it towards God, because everyone is God. It's a very sobering thought. Even that negative person is God, and if I'm feeling all this anger and hatred and whatever towards that person, I'm actually feeling it towards God. No, I'm not feeling. The person is an illusion in my mind. That person doesn't exist. Yes?
But then the thing is, the person feels that towards you, you can't be like that's a person feeling and not God.
What say?
The person feels negative towards you.
Yeah.
Then it's not a good thought to feel that God is feeling negative.
Yeah, but Avinash, you do. God can never feel that towards you. That's understood in His pristine self. But God can play at feeling it towards you, right? This whole thing is His Leela, and nothing happens without His will. Not even a leaf falls to the ground without His will. So His will is making this person behave like this to me. Now, that thought can either make you hate God, or if your love for God is enough, it can make you think that if God is making the person behave like this towards me, the person is just being used as an instrument to pull out some deep-rooted samskaras in me which need to be changed. Sri Aurobindo says, no, the titans, asuras, are dearer to God than the gods, because the titans do His dirty work. They bring out all this poison inside me, and they bring it out at the bidding of the higher intelligence. No, how can it be otherwise? So if you can remember that, and instead of getting stuck at the person's bad, just look at what's coming out in me. How do I deal with that? Instead of blaming the person, a better thing to do is to ask, what do I do? What do I do to transit from this negative emotional home, a negative way of being that I've made my home, to a positive emotional home? So that's when, suppose I hold this thought that, and Mother has said, when a disciple asked her, what is the one thing which is most important in our sadhana? She said to hold the constant vision that everything is God. Now for us, that's a far cry. Once a week on Saturday, if I remind you, it will click. But rest of the week, most of us don't even think that everything is God, right? But Mother says that's one of the most important things to hold in your consciousness, that every being, everything is God. So if I'm seeing everything as God and I'm feeling negative towards the person, okay, let's actually do it. Let's sit and let's just concentrate on whatever is our highest reverence. The Mother, whatever else. And the most powerful positive emotional home is love for for that being, or gratitude. Gratitude is just another shade of love. So just allow yourself to feel gratitude or love for whatever your concept of God is. And when you are sufficiently in touch with the vibration of that love, bring that person who you feel negative towards into your mindscape. And just hold the thought, all is God alone. Mother herself says, never fear anyone, because everyone is me wearing a silly mask. Just see Mother smiling in this person's heart also. The mask, the face may be anything, but in that person's heart, there's that same presence smiling. That presence from behind its veil is controlling this person's behavior towards you to give you only as much pain as is good for your growth. The Mother says, I allow hostiles to also act on you only so much as is good for your growth. And see if you can feel a softening towards the person, or at least feeling less threatened, less upset about having this person in your life. 2 more minutes or a minute more, just stay with this. Speaking to that person, I give away the belief that you're doing this to harm me. Maybe at a very surface level you are, but there's a deeper reason to our interaction. This interaction is giving me an unprecedented opportunity for growth. Thank you, Ma, for giving me this opportunity, and give me the wisdom and love also to make this growth. And whenever I forget, remind me to see you in this person also, and in all beings. So beautiful in Savitri, there's a line where God tells Savitri, thou shalt be helplessly attracted to all, because in all you'll sense my presence. Whatever mask they wear, thou shalt be helplessly attracted to all. And slowly open your eyes. So that was the third positive emotional home, seeing all as God. Anything to share? Any questions?
Yeah, I'd like to share something. It's when youngsters, they fall in love and they're full of happiness and they're full of that state of being in love or whatever. And a lot of older, cynical people will say, all this is not love, this is not love. So for those youngsters, then they are not even sure what love is then.
Yeah, but how many youngsters listen to the older cynical people? I mean, they'll just take it in from one ear, take it out of the other.
Yeah. No, but what I'm trying to say is what Mother was saying is that love in any form is love, and it should be, you should go go through it. It's
Yeah.
not something to be.
Yes. So what's the question?
So here, it's just that this whole thing about what she said, that if you don't allow yourself to love, then the capacity to love can dry up.
Yes. Yes.
So even any form of love, so it doesn't have to be a very evolved divine
No,
love, but
no.
even whatever one feels,
Of
even
course.
at a vital level.
Of course. Of course.
I think I have a question.
But
which
that
was-
vital love has to be purified.
Yes.
And if you don't purify it, you will get knocks from life till it gets purified.
I think what was happening to me when I was doing the meditation was feeling of someone hating and God being that person as well, and feeling like, oh my gosh, God also hates me.
No,
kind of
no,
a
no.
thing. And I'm like, I mean, if someone doesn't like
God
you,
is
whatever,
playing at hating you, but He's actually loving you intensely through that.
I don't get
You understand, see, when a bird has to be taught to fly, the mother bird, it's a baby bird, it's on a cliff, and so far it's being carried by the mother bird or whatever animal. In the animal kingdom, the mother will push the baby off the cliff so that it can find its wings. Now the mother doesn't hate the baby, and the mother will only allow that person to give you as much pain as is good for your growth.
Yeah, I
Think
that's very
about
hard
it.
for me to.
Okay, so listen, we have many emotional homes. Drop this for the moment. If this doesn't work for you, drop it. Work with the other positive emotional homes. But don't get stuck on the idea God hates me. That's not possible. Whatever you do, God loves you unconditionally. God is not only capable of hating. Yeah?
It's like, yeah.
Like we are talking of love and attachment. And attachment would be love at the vital level.
Yeah?
So why does it normally lead to a person having mistrust for that person? Even if that person is loving, suppose the guy loves the girl, but constantly there is that back thought that is she really doing what she's doing? There is a mistrust. So
That's because of the person's past. If the person is insecure about himself, that insecurity is projected onto the partner.
in spite of the partner doing nothing good.
Yeah. Actually, we don't see our partner. We are only seeing bits of ourselves in the partner. Although we have the illusion that we are seeing the partner.
So how does one purify that? So
That's for that person to ask me the question. If it's not your question, drop it. If it is your question, I'll answer it.
actually, I said, give me a thought also. Like
Ah.
sometimes even I feel that way. So it could be my question at some level.
Then
Because
you
I
have
can
to
answer
work
the
on
question.
strengthening your own self-worth and your own faith in existence and in yourself.
So this all is God might help.
It might help, definitely. The fourth positive emotional home we come to is Kalyan Shraddha. Okay? It's a beautiful concept Sri Aurobindo has given us, faith in the goodness of life. First of all, we must note that what we mean ordinarily by the man is not his inner self, but only a sum of apparent continuous movements of consciousness and energy in past, present and future, to which we give this name. It is this that in appearance does all the works of man, thinks all his thoughts, feels all his emotions. So our frontal being, I think I am this Anahita sitting here with my thoughts, with my emotions, but it is this that in appearance does all the work of man, thinks all his thoughts, feels all his emotions. This energy is a movement of consciousness force concentrated on a temporary stream of inward and outward working. Never mind if you've not understood till now, this is life divine, now you'll understand. But we know that behind this stream of energy, each of us is a stream of energy. So Sri Aurobindo says that behind this stream of energy, there is a whole sea of consciousness which is aware of the stream but of which the stream is unaware. So we have the ocean self, our God self behind, and our surface self, which is the stream of energy. So, but we know that behind this stream of energy there is a whole sea of consciousness which is aware of the stream, but of which the stream is unaware. For this sum of surface energy is a selection, an outcome from all the rest that is invisible. So I am not aware of my ocean self, but the ocean self is completely aware of me and of everything else. The ocean self is my superconscient. That sea is the subliminal self, the superconscient, the subconscient, the intraconscient, the circumconscient being, and holding it all together, the soul, the psychic entity. The stream is natural, the superficial man. So what Sri Aurobindo is saying is that this ocean from behind at every moment is guiding the meanderings of the stream. Now that can be such an empowering thought. I am the stream and my God self is the ocean at the back, which is guiding the movement of the stream in the course. So I feel I'm lost, I feel I'm making mistakes, but so beautiful to know that there's an ultimate control on every detour I'll take, on everything I'll do. There's that line in Savitri, no? The supreme diplomat makes our fall a means for a greater rise. So I don't have to constantly live with this fear of going wrong, being led astray, because there is an ultimate control. There's also that beautiful line, we worked with it as a mantra in our yoga class this morning. An outstretched hand is felt upon our lives, isn't it? Alive in a dead rotating universe, we whirl not here upon a casual globe, abandoned to a task beyond our force. Even through the tangled anarchy called fate, and through the bitterness of death and fall, an outstretched hand is felt upon our lives. So to recognize and constantly remember that this outstretched hand is upon our lives, it will not let the difficult person hurt me more than what's good for my growth. That outstretched hand is controlling everything, me, the difficult person, our interactions, and I can live unthreatened, unfearful of, oh my God, it will go so bad that I won't be able to deal with it. It will never come to that point because there's a control. There's an invisible control to everything in our life. And knowing about this is Kalyan Shraddha, faith in the goodness of life. So this is another very powerful, positive, emotional home we can return to when we are caught in a negative emotional home. In fact, Sri Aurobindo says that Kalyan Shraddha is not faith, it's a knowing. Faith is believing in something you don't yet see, right? That's in our surface mind. But in our psychic consciousness, it's a knowing. If I'm all hassled on the surface and I just keep quiet, suddenly I'm not hassled. Why? Because the surface mind, which is full of doubt, has settled down. And I'm in touch with my deeper knowing, which knows I'm good, which knows I'm being carried, which knows that everything is going to work out finally. You had a quote on this. Would you like to say it?
Yes.
Will you come here so that I can give you the mic?
It's from Basis of Yoga, Rays of Light. The only thing you have to do is to remain quiet, undisturbed, slowly turn towards the divine. The rest is in his hands.
So beautiful. All you have to do is remain quiet, undisturbed. Whatever the appearance of life, I'm going to be undisturbed. Rest is in your hands. Thank you. So that is Kalyan Shraddha. Actually, let's experiment with it. Sit quietly and think of that one negative emotional home you return to again and again. Feeling insecure, anxious, fearful, angry, whatever else. Guilty, incapable, holding a grudge. And like we did in the yoga class this morning, just use this as a mantra. An outstretched hand is felt upon my life. Whatever happens, I am under the guidance of this outstretched hand. Or the other beautiful mantra from Savitri, there's a meaning in every curve and line. I'm not being treated badly by this person for no rhyme or reason. There's a meaning in this play of the mother. I call it bad when I can't see the meaning. But in the absence of seeing, let me make a leap of faith to believe that it's leading to something. Someday I will see also. So just allow Kalyan Shraddha to arise from within you, undisturbed by the appearance of life, knowing that the mother is carrying me through everything. If she's brought me to it, she'll carry me through it. And I'll come out of it stronger, better, in a nicer place. So that is the fourth emotional home that we explored. Now we come to the fifth positive emotional home. Oh, there's a beautiful passage from Savitri. Oh, I already read this out, but I'll read it again. I said it from memory, but here it is. Alive in a dead rotating universe, we whirl not here upon a casual globe. So he's saying this is not a random globe. It's not a casual globe. It's not a chaos. There's perfect order in the chaos that's visible to your eyes. It's not a random globe. We whirl not here upon a casual globe, abandoned to a task beyond our force. Even through the tangled anarchy is chaos called fate, and through the bitterness of death and fall, an outstretched hand is felt upon our lives. It is near us in unnumbered bodies and births. In its unslackening grasp, slackening is that which releases, unslackening is it will never let go of us. We are held so firmly in its grasp. In its unslackening grasp, it keeps for us safe the one inevitable supreme result no will can take away and no doom change, the crown of conscious immortality, the Godhead promised to our struggling souls when first man's heart dared death and suffered life. These are also very beautiful. It sums up in his beautiful language what we've said in a way that our words never can. So very beautiful. One who has shaped this world is ever its Lord. Lord means he has ultimate control. There's never a time he's not its Lord. One who has shaped this world is ever its Lord. Our errors are his steps upon the way. Our mistakes are his steps upon the way. We shouldn't feel guilty. So that's another mantra. If my negative emotional home is guilt and shame, this can be my mantra. My error is his step upon the way. Our errors are his steps upon the way. He works through the fierce vicissitudes. Vicissitudes are the difficulties, storms of our life. He is working through them. He works through the fierce vicissitudes of our lives. He works through the hard breath of battle and toil. He works through our sins and sorrows and our tears. Whatever we are going through, it's His working. His knowledge overrules our nescience. Nescience is ignorance. So even if I don't know, it's okay. He knows. If the stream doesn't know where it's going, it's fine. The ocean that guides it from behind knows, and I'm safe. His knowledge overrules our nescience. This is another mantra when I'm always scared of making mistakes and going wrong. His knowledge overrules my nescience. All these are mantras we should be bringing into our life. We really underutilize Savitri. One mantra can be life changing. His knowledge overrules our nescience. Whatever the appearance we must bear, appearance of life, however it appears to us, whatever the appearance we must bear, whatever our strong ills and present fate, when nothing we can see but drift is randomness and bale, sorrow. When we can see things aren't going anywhere, what is this? Whatever the appearance we must bear, whatever our strong ills and present fate, when nothing we can see but drift and bale, a mighty guidance leads us still through all. That was Payal, what she read out in Sun Sparks. It's again a very powerful mantra. A mighty guidance leads us still through all. Okay, so if I have a lot of guilt and shame, what would be my mantra? Our errors are His steps upon the way. If I'm feeling incapable and not knowing where to go, what could be my mantra? His knowledge overrules our nescience. Nescience is ignorance. And if I'm feeling very anxious about how things will shape out, a mighty guidance leads us still through all. As you read Savitri, you'll find so many, you don't need to learn passages, just learn one line and use them as mantras in your life. They can be quite life transforming.
So, can I ask a question? Again, when I'm repeating this as a mantra or an affirmation or as a reminder to myself, I don't know, if I'm in that state, is it working more as a belief or as a soothing thing to kind of like, help me?
You're saying can it be mechanical at times?
No, I'm saying, is it belief or is it like, kind of a knowing thing again? Because if it's a belief, then it's something that I'm just counting on. I'm like hoping something.
No, so that only you will answer. When you heard this, did it sound like it was a belief for you or was it a knowing?
I would say both, in the sense that it's a belief.
So you're right, it's a belief in your head and it's a knowing in the deeper part of you. It's both.
Yeah. I think the question again, and maybe it's related to my, okay, when you have to choose what to do, and you have belief that yes, everything will be fine, but then you do have to kind of choose what action you choose.
Sure, but when you take action from a calm, unruffled state, it will always be a higher action. See, if a problem exists at this level, you'll never find its solution at this level. You always have to go to a higher level to find a lasting solution to it. So if you keep getting ruffled, you'll fight back, whatever, it's not going to give you a solution.
So then belief becomes knowing when you go from that surface level to a higher level. Is that
Yeah, and you can't really go. Grace takes you there. You can't with your own means go there, very limitedly. All you can do is open your doors to grace, call Mother. See, with these lines from Savitri, you're just calling Mother into your consciousness. That's all you're doing. So once you call her into your consciousness, she'll do the rest. So the fifth and second last positive emotional home is gratitude. Okay, so whenever I'm feeling very blah about something, if I consciously, and we did a whole Savitri session on gratitude, if you draw on that, whenever you're going through a difficult time, if you think, what can I be grateful for in the midst of this difficulty? And we discussed when we did that session, there can be many things. One could be that I'm grateful for the growth I've made through this situation. Two, if a person's very bad, it could be a family member, but I'm stuck with that family member. So it could be the thought that there's these one or two redeeming qualities about that person. Maybe the person's very harsh, but at least he's a good organizer, at least he's dependable. Or if he's not dependable, maybe my mother screams and shouts a lot, but at least she gives me good food to eat. Something as simple as that. Focus on 2-3 things you can be grateful for, or if nothing else, that I went through all this and here I am on my feet. How much grace has been with me through the difficult times. And mother says, I didn't bring that passage, but so beautifully she says that in your difficult times you have no idea how much grace is surrounding you. You can't see it because you're too caught up with the cribbing in your mind, but in your difficult moments, more grace carries you than ever before. So if nothing else, I can be grateful to grace, that yeah, you put this cross on my shoulders, but you've given my shoulders the strength to carry it. Can I not be grateful to grace for that? So the moment I bring gratitude into the equation, I can transit out of the negative emotional home. So mother says, but there is another movement which should constantly accompany devotion. That kind of sense of gratitude that the divine exists. That feeling of a marveling thankfulness which truly fills you with a sublime joy at the fact that the divine exists. That there is something in the universe which is the divine. That it is not just the monstrosity we see, that there is the divine exists. And each time that the least thing puts you either directly or indirectly in contact with the sublime reality of divine existence, the heart is filled with so intense, so marvelous a joy, such a gratitude as of all things that has the most delightful taste. There is nothing which gives you a joy equal to that of gratitude. One hears a bird sing, sees a lovely flower, looks at a little child, observes an act of generosity, reads a beautiful sentence, looks at the setting sun, no matter what, suddenly this comes upon you, this kind of emotion, indeed so deep, so intense that the world manifests the divine, that there is something behind the world which is the divine. So I find that devotion without gratitude is quite incomplete. Gratitude must come with devotion. Further, another very beautiful passage on gratitude by the mother. And yet, of all movements, the one that gives perhaps the most joy, an unalloyed joy, untainted by that egoism, is spontaneous gratitude. It is something very special. It isn't love, it isn't self-offering. It's a very full joy, very full. It's a very special vibration, unlike anything other than itself. It is something that widens you, that fills you, that is so fervent. It is certainly of all the movements within the reach of human consciousness, the one that draws you the most out of your ego. So beautiful. Of all movements of consciousness, gratitude draws you the most out of your ego. Because when you're grateful to someone else, you forget thinking about how good or bad you are. Otherwise, somewhere all the time there's a self-regard. I'm good, I'm bad, I did this, she did this, blah, blah, blah. But when you feel that intense gratitude to the mother, for a moment you forget about yourself. It's a movement that of all other movements takes you the most out of the ego. And when it can be a gratitude without motive, that vibration, basically that vibration of what exists towards the cause of existence, then a great many barriers vanish instantly. Mother contemplates that vibration of gratitude for a long time. When you can enter that vibration in its purity, you realize immediately that it has the same quality as the vibration of love. It is directionless. It isn't something going from one thing to another. It doesn't go from here to there, gesture from high to low, from low to high, or there to here. It is round. Mother makes a round gesture, simultaneous and total. So what Mother's saying is that gratitude can become a state of being. It's not a movement from this to that. I can just be grateful for everything. If I can just be in a state of divine love, and if I really follow that earlier emotional home that all is God. So if all is God, whatever I see, I'm grateful for, right? So it can be a state of being rather than a movement. I mean, it isn't something that needs the two poles in order to exist. It doesn't go from one pole to the other, from the other to the one. It's a vibration which in its purity is the same as the vibration of love, which doesn't go from here to there or from there to here, the two poles of existence. It exists in itself for its own delight of being. And what I'm saying spoils it a lot, like love. Ultimately, gratitude is only a very slightly colored hue of the essential vibration of love. Beautiful sentence. Gratitude is only a very slightly colored hue, tint of the essential vibration of love. The sixth positive emotional home, which is in a way applies to every emotional home, is choice. To recognize that you always have a choice of transiting from a negative emotional home to a positive one. It's really, your mind can convince you, and it often does, that there's no way out. The life is so bad, this person is so bad, the circumstance is so bad, obviously I'm going to feel terrible. But remember, what life does to you, you don't have a choice over. But your inner response to it is always your choice. And at least if you're with the mother, don't believe your mind when it tells you you don't have a choice. You're always and always going to have a choice. So,
And then who will choose to be in a negative home?
huh?
Then who will choose to be in a negative home then, right?
Then
If you always have a choice. Then
because you allow your mind to trick you into believing you don't have a choice. It's like the Stockholm syndrome. You know what that is, no? If a kid is kidnapped, the kid's mind is hypnotized into believing that the kidnapper is the hero. So you're allowing the negativity to make you believe it's the hero, and it has complete control over you.
You need negativity to feel.
Yeah,
Like,
all
you know
that
that
is rubbish.
yeah.
Don't believe it. You don't need negativity to feel.
It's like you have to go through difficulty to move forward.
See, Sri Aurobindo has written that none can reach heaven who hasn't been through hell. But that doesn't mean you indulge hell. You'll go through hell, but always with your gaze turned to heaven. You don't invite pain. If it comes, you deal with it the best you can. So Mother says, life is a perpetual choice between truth and falsehood, light and darkness, progress and regression, the ascent towards the heights or the fall into the abyss. into the abyss. It is for each one to choose freely. So one positive emotional home is to always remind myself I have a choice. Maybe right now the way my consciousness is, it's just a 10% choice, but even that 1% choice is a lot. Sri Aurobindo and Savitri writes, no, in that canto on fate, I don't remember the exact words, but man can accept his fate, he can refuse. But he says, even if you try and you fail, it's like you get a brownie point. I don't remember his exact words, that we'll look up and tell you, but he says the fact that you've tried to overcome the negative state, it's earned you a brownie point in your consciousness. You might fail today, but the fact that you tried, next time you'll succeed a little more, next time a little more. But don't submit and indulge that negative state. Yeah? Any questions? Anything to share? Okay, then let's just sit and assimilate. So shut your eyes. Tony Robbins has written a book called Life Force, in which he talks about emotional homes. My yoga teacher, Jangir Sir, beautifully explored these emotional homes with us. So, negative emotional homes are homes or emotional spaces we return to again and again as a default mechanism. And all of us have a specific negative emotional homes. For some of us, it's the negative emotional home of blaming people when things go wrong, or being resentful and holding grudges against them for the pain they've caused us, or incapacity, inadequacy, or self-blame and incapacity, guilt, shame, fear, anxiety, anger. Each one of us has typical emotional homes depending on our past, which we get pulled into again and again and again. But we can build positive emotional homes for ourselves as well. In class today, we explored 5 positive emotional homes that we can transit to when negative emotional homes arise. The first positive emotional home was blessing, which is metta, the Buddhist practice of metta. So if it's myself that I'm feeling negativity towards, if I'm constantly flogging myself, constantly feeling incapable, then a beautiful thing is to give myself the self-blessing of metta. Just to repeat these words: may I be well, may I be happy, may I be peaceful, may I be free, blessing myself. As Galway Kinnell says, for everything flowers from within of self-blessing, though sometimes it is necessary to reteach a thing its loveliness. Metta helps me to relearn my own loveliness. Or I can send these phrases towards the difficult person. May you be well, may you be happy, may you be peaceful, may you be free. The second positive emotional home is surrender and offering. Mother says to remember and offer whenever I'm in a dark spot, to just offer the negativity to Mother or whoever my highest reverence is, with the feeling that I'm giving this away to you. Now it's your baby. I'm not going to break my head over it anymore. The third positive emotional home is seeing all as God. This will not work under 2 conditions. One condition is if I feel too much hatred for the person, then it won't help me to see that person as God if my hatred for that person in that moment is more than my love for God. Secondly, this won't work for me if I don't have an overwhelming love for God. But if I do have that overwhelming love for God, and I remember Mother's words, never fear anyone, everyone is me wearing a silly mask, or Sri Aurobindo's words, that every emotion you feel, you're finally feeling it towards God, because everyone is God. Just remembering that may help me soften towards the person. To remember that that person who's being so nasty is just Mother playing with me to bring out things that need to be brought out, seen and transformed. And the Mother in that person will be such that Mother will never allow the form of that person to give me more pain than what's good for my growth. So that's the next emotional home, seeing all as God. The fourth emotional home is Kalyan Shraddha, faith in the goodness of life, faith in my own higher self, which is my ocean self, which I'm not aware of. I'm aware of my stream self, but the ocean self from behind is guiding the movements of my stream self, so that everything has a purpose, every detour has a purpose, and I can make it my mantra, that line from Savitri, a mighty guidance leads us still through all. The fifth positive emotional home could be gratitude. Whenever I'm stuck in negativity, let me consciously look for things to be grateful for. This person who's very difficult, can I find one or two nice things about that person and feed that gratitude rather than constantly seeing this is wrong, that is wrong. Or I can be grateful for the progress I've made through going through this difficulty. Or I can be grateful to the grace that's taking me through this difficulty. The moment a genuine vibration of gratitude arises in me, I transit to a beautiful, positive, emotional home. The sixth positive emotional home actually applies to all, just to remember that I always have a choice. My mind will dupe me into thinking that things are so bad that I have to feel bad. But take it from me, that's not true. See through that trick of your mind and always remember you have a choice. Mother says, life is a perpetual choice between truth and falsehood, light and darkness, progress and regression, the ascent towards the heights or the fall into the abyss. It is for each one to choose freely. So anytime I'm in the middle of a negative emotional state, I recognize it. I say, here I go again, feeling incapable, or here I go again, feeling guilt or shame or whatever. That brings consciousness to it. And then I bring consciousness to the positive emotional state and feed it till it grows. This can be a very important tool in transforming the vital. Hands together in a namaste at the heart. Let's end with 3 ohms. Next Saturday, there may or may not be Savitri. Just look on the group, I'll put it up.